Why you're using too much your computer?
Well, yes, this is
Give a
broken.
break.
Yeah, it says not enough memory for some reason, and it shows that
Each computer has
date.
Good morning
Treating your
and
computer
welcome
as
to
your
the Land Grant Seminar Series, the 2024 spring semester. Can't believe it. It's only a couple of weeks to the finish line for this semester. We're looking forward for a summer with more research, more field work, but we get ready for the fall. So we are accepting presenters for the fall. So if you have a recommendation, suggestions, please feel free to share those with us. We have next week is going to be an important week for our graduate program, since we're going to have our first defense, MS student defense next Monday. So this coming Monday, Katana, she's going to she's going to present her research, biochar and manure levels, impact on selected soil hydrophysical properties and sorghum canopy temperature. So on Monday, it's going to be in this room, 9 a.m. So you're welcome. So this is history. It's the first student who's going to present our MS degree program research thesis defense. So be there, please, supporting her. So with that, I just also next week, not next week, tomorrow, we're going to have a busy day. Dr. Carson will give you some update at the end. In the meantime, I'm going to give you some preview. So at least portion of that event will be the launch of the book, Emergent Pollutant. And finally, the book is here. Can you believe it? It's here. So, we will have a full program tomorrow, and including the book launch that we will have it virtually and in person. So we have a flyer that our communication colleagues did very excellent job in putting together, and it was shared. Please share it with your colleagues so that we can have this event watched and also attended by our students and our colleagues and general public. Because I was yesterday interviewed by the KPV, and they told me who should attend the book launch. It's about water. I said, anyone who drinks water should attend. So I think with that, I just want to introduce our speaker for today, Dr. Paris Favorite. She's an extension agent at Harris County for our extension cooperative program here. Dr. Favorite previously served as a director and assistant professor of forensic science undergraduate program at Southern University in Louisiana. She holds a doctoral degree in urban forestry and an MS degree in forensic science and a BS in biology. Dr. Favorite, she's using her educational background and research expertise to cultivate students for careers in science, technology, engineering, and mathematics, STEM fields. So she provides students with opportunities to become globally competitive by integrating biology, urban forestry, environmental science, and agriculture into foreign science curricula. With that, she will be talking to us today about agroforensic, integrating forensic science and agriculture to bridge the gap and shape the future. Dr. Favorite, welcome.
Hi, good morning, everyone. Again, my name is Dr. Paris Favorite, and today I'll be presenting on agri-forensics, integrating forensic science and agriculture to bridge the gap and shape the future. So for my outline in today's presentation, I will have a summary. I will go over the history of forensic science, I'll give you an introduction to forensic science, and then I'll go over some primary disciplines in forensic science, as well as the significance of agriculture in forensic science as it relates to secondary disciplines. I'll go over one research case study, and I'll go over a forensic case, and I'll give you my vision, followed by my references. So quick summary. So after attending this presentation, viewers will be able to get a better understanding of how forensic science and agriculture integrates together. So this presentation will be used to basically educate the community about the importance of agri-forensics. And agri-forensics is something that I came up with as a name to integrate forensic science and agriculture. History of forensic science. Forensic science started in about the early 1800s, and it was introduced into the United States. And forensic science has been developing primarily through the efforts of law enforcement as well as academic research. So what I mean about that with academic research, this is where forensic science starts, is in a laboratory in academics where we come up with the best practices, scientific methods, and techniques that we can use to solve crimes. Once we publish the research, it goes to the scientific community. They figure out if it's valid enough, and then that's how it's able to be introduced into crime laboratories as well as utilized on crime scenes. So it starts here. Now, introduction to forensic science. Introduction to forensic science is the application of science as it pertains to criminal law. We have two different tracks in your traditional setting. So in forensic science, oftentimes you hear about crimes on crimes as it pertains to humans. So this, when you hear me say traditional setting, that's what I mean. When you see CSI shows, NCIS, this is your traditional way of forensic science. And you think that's the only thing that forensic science applies to, but it doesn't. And that's why I am here. So we have two tracks that you typically get into. One is the crime scene technician track. These people are the ones that work on the crime scene. They work around the clock. They're always on call. Either they work during the day, or they work at night, or they work overnight. So their job is to collect the evidence, process it, and preserve it. The forensic scientists are the people with the white lab coats on, as you see in NCIS and all of these other forensic shows, and they work behind the scenes. Their job is to unlock the story and figure out if Jane Doe or John Doe was responsible for committing that crime. Now I'm going to go a little bit more in depth how it goes. Once the evidence gets collected from the crime scene, we have something called CEP, Central Evidence and Property. So it gets logged into a database. Once it gets logged into a database, it goes to the crime laboratory in your local area or state area. Now, every crime lab in different states or in your cities may not have every unit, meaning a DNA unit, a toxicology unit, a fingerprint unit. So if they do not have that unit, then you need to what we call outsource. That means you need to find a lab in your state or out of state that will process your evidence, whether that be animal DNA or human DNA. It can be hairs, it can be fibers, it can be different types of chemicals or biological specimens. Now, for my primary disciplines in forensic science, there are so many that I can go over, but due to time restraints, I decided to go with the top three and show you how they relate to agriculture. So the top three that I'm going to be going over today is forensic odontology, forensic pathology, as well as forensic engineering. This is a picture of forensic odontology. So as you can see, it's dealing with the study of teeth. So again, in your traditional setting, which you see, I'm gonna keep saying that on your crime shows, they have two different ways where you can solve solve the crime. You can use teeth or you can use bite mark impressions. So odontology has been used for a very long time, but it really was put on the map. Anybody ever heard of the Ted Bundy? He's a well-known serial killer. Yes. So when the Ted Bundy case came about, he was coming around terrorizing these ladies. They actually was able to use bite mark analysis to connect him to the crime. He actually sexually assaulted and brutally assaulted a female, and he bit her on the buttocks. So that's how they were able to trace him back to the crime. So that's what put forensic odontology on the map, to let you all know that, hey, this works. But how does this apply to agriculture? So in the field of agriculture, it can be used to deal with livestock or carcasses that may be present. So you can extract DNA from the dental pulp of the livestock in order to identify your livestock. So let's say if your livestock passed away, and by the time you get there, It's in an advanced stage of decomposition. It's so badly decomposed, there are no more tissues for you to be able to recognize them. You can actually use another method, which this would be your secondary method, as a way of identifying your livestock through the pulp of a tooth. You can extract DNA. Now, this can be helpful, again, in your post-mortem identification process. Post-mortem mean after death. Now, research has already successfully demonstrated that we can do this with humans, but there's little research stating that can we do this with livestock. That's okay. That means that there's a need for research to be done in the event that a mass disaster happened. We know that we live in a subtropical area, so we are prone to natural disasters. There's wildfires that are going on. We have hurricanes and all other type of issues within our environment. Now, traditionally, as it comes to livestock identification, your primary method would be ear tags or branding that can be lost or illegible over time. If this were to happen, does anybody have any other method that you can use in order to identify that livestock? This will be your secondary method, as I was explaining, extracting DNA from the dental pulp of the tooth of your particular livestock. Now, the goal is to extract the DNA to existing genetic records, and it's possible to confirm the identity of the animal. And as I stated before, the example would be mass disasters or fire incidents. Now, you may be saying, Dr. Favorite, how can we do this? There's so many methods that may go into this, but I want to show you the top 2 methods that you need to make sure that you do. In order to extract that DNA from the pulp of that livestock's tooth is through the DNA extraction techniques. So you need a dental drill to access the pulp chamber. And you need a dental forensics kit for DNA recovery from dental tissues. Moving on to forensic pathology. Forensic pathologists, you normally hear about your coroner or your medical examiner. It just depends on where you live and what you have within your area. So their job in a traditional setting, again, as it relates to humans, their goal is to establish the cause and manner of death. You may have natural death, undetermined death, homicide, suicide. That is your manner of death. So a cause of death, let's say if someone was shot, so they died from a gunshot wound from the head. That was the cause of death, but your manner of death would be considered a homicide. Is everybody following? Yes? Okay, great. Now, how does this relate to agriculture? It relates as veterinary forensic pathology. This is a secondary, well, another primary method, sorry, that you can use in the event for agriculture. Now, you would use a forensic pathologist that will come in and investigate a sudden death of your livestock if it were to take place. If the livestock were to pass away due to poisoning or some type of disease. Now, there are suspicious livestock deaths that go on all the time, but was it due to animal cruelty, abuse, neglect, or poisoning? That would be that role of that forensic pathologist to figure that out for you and provide the answers. Moving on to forensic engineering. Forensic engineering is something that we hear about all the time that may be on CNN, MSNBC. We hear about these buildings collapsing. We hear about these trains derailing all the time in our society. So the goal of the forensic engineer is to come out and do an assessment to figure out the failures of the materials or product malfunctions, the structure failures, or even how the accident took place. Now, it's their job to investigate the principles of failures and incidents that involve the following: agriculture structures, equipment, and systems. This is how we can use forensic engineering as it relates to agriculture. So for an example, your structure failures on farms, you have agriculture buildings, equipment and machinery accidents. An example will be farm machinery and irrigation and drainage system failures. Can't really see it, but it's pumps and pipe malfunctions. Now, it also can be useful post-disaster assessments. We also know that we're going into hurricane season, so we may need to utilize a forensic engineer if something were to happen on the farm. So they can be useful for natural disasters as well as product liability and safety compliance issues. Now moving into my secondary disciplines. Secondary disciplines, the difference between primary and secondary. Primary is what you traditionally see on a crime scene or you see on television. Secondary disciplines is what you may not see or hear about all the time, but that does not mean that it's not going on. It may not get as much media attention as your traditional way of thinking about forensic science. So I have a few that I'm going to go over with you. The first one is biosecurity forensics. Second is forensic botany. Third is forensic entomology. Fourth is forensic forestry. Next is environmental microbial forensics and forensic accounting. Biosecurity forensics. So biosecurity forensics is a specialized field that combines the following. You have forensic science, you have biosecurity, and you have microbiology. So you merging these three disciplines together, again, forensic science, biosecurity, and microbiology, but the threats that they focus on can be accidental, natural, or intentional. So the goal is to basically understand the way that you can identify biological agents such as viruses, fungi, microorganisms that could not only harm humans, animals, plants, but the environment, which we know that this is something that we're dealing with constantly every single day. Now, again, I'm going to show you the difference between the traditional forensic science versus biosecurity forensics, so that way you can understand the difference between the two. In your traditional setting of forensic science, it focuses on crime scenes and human suspects, or focuses on primary evidence such as fingerprints, DNA, blood, toxicology, firearms, bullets, bullet shell casings. This is what you normally hear about, and it primarily focuses on local or criminal cases. But as it relates to biosecurity forensics, it focuses on a different audience, whereas it's pathogens, toxins, biological threats, microbial DNA, pathogen analysis, and biotrace evidence. It primarily focuses on national and international security, agriculture, or public health. Moving on to forensic botany. Forensic botany in a traditional setting is dealing with the study of plants. But what's so unique about forensic botany is very beneficial to help solve crimes because it can be used to link a suspect to a crime scene, determine the time and location of criminal activities, and something what we call the low-card exchange principle. The low-card exchange principle is the first principle that you're going to learn about when you are introduced to forensic science. It means every contact leaves a trace. In a traditional setting, it means that assailant that commits that crime is more than likely to take something away with them from the crime scene, whether it's soil on the bottom of their shoes, glass fragments, wood fragments, also plant fragments. Now, that does not mean that person cannot bring something with them to the crime scene to link them back to the scene of that crime. A lot of people in the world have pets. That particular assailant can actually bring pet hair to the crime scene and leave it there and not even realize it. And that's how they can possibly get caught. Now, how does forensic botany relate to agriculture? It can relate to agriculture in multiple ways, but I decided to show you that it can be useful as the detection of genetically modified organisms, GMOs. Now, through DNA analysis, forensic botanists can detect the presence of GMOs in crops. So for an example, that would be a compliance issue. It can also be used to trace the origin of plant-based products. So an example of that would be illegal logging and timber trade. I decided to list a case that happened in 2018, was the Maple Fire case in Washington State. So they had this guy named Justin, and he decided to illegally harvest timber from the Olympic National Forest, and a fire actually started in Washington State. He forged some permits to get the timber to be sold so they can actually make music instrumentation. So this case is actually unique because this was the first time that wood DNA was used in a federal case in the United States. And the USDA Forest Service was able to link him back to the crime through DNA analysis. And he actually served 20 months in prison for the crime that he committed. Now, you may be saying, how can we utilize this or understand how could we solve this crime? In a traditional setting, in forensic science, we use scanning electron microscope or you can use the direct analysis in real time of flight mass spectrometry. The differences between the two is with scanning electron microscope, you're going to look at the wood anatomy, meaning the biological aspect of that wood. But with direct analysis in real time, it focuses on the chemical composition of that wood. And this instrumentation right here, direct analysis in real time, is what the USDA is already using. Forensic entomology, I'll go into that. I will give a disclaimer. I do have a few graphic photos of some carcasses. If anyone has a sensitive stomach, I'll try to get through it as quick as possible. All right, forensic entomology, that's dealing with the study of insects. They can be very useful. So if anybody thought that flies are just annoying, you're in your neighborhood cookouts, you're trying to enjoy your food, and they just keep coming around, I promise you they actually do serve a purpose in the world. So the insects can actually be used to give you an estimated time of death, which we call the postmortem interval. Now, in the event with this secondary discipline, it can be useful to retrieve DNA from the gut of a maggot in case those human remains or your carcass is so badly decomposed, or an arson case happened, wildfire happened, and you cannot identify your loved one, or you cannot identify that particular livestock. So this is a maggot. So what we do on the crime scene, if you see these lines on the maggot, those lines on the maggot, if you count the number of rings, it can give you an estimated time of when that person or that livestock actually passed away. We can never give you a true time, meaning like we can never say your loved one or your livestock passed away at 1 a.m. We can only give you an estimated window of when that person actually passed away or that livestock. Now, this research case study that I'm going to go over with you is something that I did when I was at Tech. And the reason why I decided to do mines, although there's so many publications out there on this similar research, I wanted to do it because, number one, it was done in the state of Texas. And number two, this research was unique because it was done in a semi-arid environment. I also presented my research at the American Academy of Forensic Science, as well as the graduate research competition. So the title was The Recovery of DNA in Indoor and Outdoor Area Environments, and this took place in fall 2013 and spring 2014. It was done at Texas Tech Research Site, as well as the Institute of Environmental Health, also known as TIE. Now, the focus of my study was to use an animal model, which is, I used pigs because they have the closest anatomy to humans. And my goal was to see if I could retrieve DNA from the gut of a maggot for identification purposes. Keep in mind, when I say that if a body or that livestock is so badly decomposed and you can't recognize them, what are you going to rely on? You're going to rely on your environment to actually see if you can identify that person or that livestock. So this was my setup. This was at the Texas Tech Research Site. This was my indoor setup versus my outdoor. The reason why you see the wire is because I didn't want any scavengers that was around in the area to take my pig, and then, of course, that will ruin my research. So I decided to set up a weather station so it can record the weather, and I can download the recording of the weather at the end of each week. So this is my day 1 versus my day 3. And what I want you all to focus on is not only the differences in the rates of decomposition versus the indoor and outdoor, but also the insect activity that you notice. So on day 1, these pigs were very freshly placed out there. They were about 7 weeks old and they weighed about 27 pounds. So in day 1, you don't see much insect activity going on or decomp because you won't, it's in a fresh stage. But in day 3, you can see the outdoor and the indoor pig carcasses were going through a stage of decomp. This will be your second stage, the bloating stage. So in my day 5, you can see there's a significant difference in the rate of decomp. There's a lot of both activity going on. And on day 5, for my outdoor, you can see that there's some maggot activity. So what happens is once the flies reach your remains or for human remains or your carcass, what they're going to do is they're going to start laying eggs. And whatever holes or what I like to call orifices that they can find. Once they lay their eggs, within 24 to 48 hours, those eggs are going to hatch. Once the eggs hatch and they start turning into maggots, they're going to actually be feeding on the carcass or on the human remains. But what they're feeding on, they're actually ingesting your DNA. So my goal was to see if I could retrieve DNA from the gut of the maggot, to see if it was be successful. So a lot went into this research, but I'm going to give you just a quick overview of what I did. I collected my maggots with falcon tubes, and I preserved them with ethanol. The ethanol went into the falcon tubes. Why? Because number one, I needed to preserve the integrity of the maggots, but I also need to preserve the integrity of the DNA if it was present. I used forceps, and I didn't use regular tweezers that you pluck your eyebrows with or facial hairs with because they're too sturdy. They can ruin the integrity of the evidence, meaning they can squish the maggot and possibly ruin the DNA that may be present in that maggot. So before I started my DNA extraction process, I had to remove the environmental contaminants, which means that I had to wash my maggots with the bleach. I decided to perform the extraction method, and I extracted the gut, then gastrointestines, or the gut of the maggot with the scalpel. And I just gave you a picture of the maggot again. So I went from top all the way to bottom, opened it up, pinned it down, pulled out the gastrointestines. So I used the D&Easy blood and tissue kit to purify the DNA in the sample, and then I removed the debris, the excess debris. I used a spectrophotometer that read each DNA sample and identified its purity and quantity, which is a great way to understand, is the DNA that you may possibly recover, is it good enough to use? Can it be detected? And if so, is the quantity there, or is it below detection limit? Sorry, yes, let me go back. So the pork real-time PCR kit, biogenomics, was used to amplify the DNA. And that's just a quick protocol that I used that came with the kit. And I used the real-time PCR to determine if the DNA was present in the samples. I did a second confirmatory test with the jet electrophoresis procedure that was performed to determine if there was any success with the PCR reactions. All the samples were then purified and sent off for sequencing for identification purposes. So they didn't have the instrumentation in that particular laboratory, so that means I had to send it off. Again, that means outsource it in order to get my results. So my results came back great. I was able to successfully extract DNA from the gut of a maggot. Now, through my research, it also determined that it depends on your environment and the time of year whether DNA can actually be recovered or not. As we know, in cold climate times, that insects are not very active as they are in warmer climates. Now, moving on to forensic forestry. In your traditional setting, as it relates to forensic science, forestry can actually be useful to solve crimes, and people may be trying to figure out exactly how. It can, because in urban green spaces, in urban forest areas, you see more activity. It's been known that it can help with your mental aspect as well as your social game. You see more people out walking their dogs, jogging, having neighborhood cookouts, but in non-vegetative areas, criminals tend to target those areas. Why? Because people are not really outside. There's really nothing going on. So they have a higher chance of committing those crimes, meaning whether they want to sexually assault somebody, carjack somebody. So the best way I can explain to you with non-vegetative areas, anybody ever saw the first Lion King, the animated one? So you remember when Mufasa, he was there, everything was flowing, the circle of life was going, but when Scar took over, it was very dull, dense, scarce, foods were scarce, water was scarce. That's how it looks. So we can, if they have an assailant that's been terrorizing the area in certain cities with non-vegetative areas, we can use geographical information systems to pinpoint the next location that this criminal is more than likely to hit. But as it relates to forestry, it can focus on the following: forest land management and conservation. You can focus on forest incidents, wildfire incidents, as well as land disputes. Moving on to environmental microbial forensics. Environmental microbial forensics was once called environmental forensics, but it focuses on the following: bioterrorism investigations as well as environmental contamination cases. It can be useful because it can detect, analyze, and trace microbial agents that impact the following: crops, livestock, as well as food safety. It can also focus on the detection and identification of plants, as well as tracing sources of contamination. As we know that we've been hearing every day, articles have been coming to our phones, or we've been seeing on television that the water is contaminated, or the milk is contaminated, the eggs is contaminated. So this would apply, or different foods are contaminated. So this would apply to that. Now, my last one is forensic accounting. What makes forensic accounting unique is because it focuses on the discrepancies, irregular patterns, and influential pattern misconduct. So as we know, since the pandemic happened, cybercrimes have been on the rise and have been ongoing ever since. Now, I decided to give you a case as it relates to agriculture. This was the Grand Ponzi scheme, and who was our suspect was Hunter Hansen. Hansen engaged in a scheme to defraud approximately 60 farmers and elevators in North Dakota and Canada. He fraudulently contracted with multiple farmers and grain elevators to obtain grain or other agriculture commodities. And either he failed to pay the farmers or elevators, or he sent the farmers and elevators checks for which he did not have sufficient funds to cover. Now, when did this take place? This took place in January 2018 to December 2018 in North Dakota. And why did he do this? Because he wanted to commit a crime, money laundering. But once he got caught, he was required to pay $11 million in restitution. And how was the case solved? It was solved through forensic digital evidence, meaning he was depositing bad checks into multiple bank accounts that he created in order to get away with the crime. Now, my last segment for my presentation for today, I want to talk about my vision for CAFNAR to show you how forensic science can play a role in this college. So for my short-term goals, I have a vision of possibly coming up with some undergraduate courses or certification courses to integrate into the curriculum as it can be elective or, like I said, a certification course. And it can help attract students not only in-state, out-of-state, but nationally or internationally. We want to focus on enrollment and retention. Number one, being a former director, I definitely understand the importance of enrollment and retention. So many universities are suffering right now because they're on an enrollment decline. But we want to make sure that not only does Prairie View stay healthy, but this college stay healthy. So we want to focus on enrollment and figure out a way that we can get creative and bring more students into the college. But not only do we want to bring them here, I want to figure out a way to keep them in this college and graduate from different academic programs that may be available to them. Now, I decided to do some research because, of course, I'm a researcher. So I wanted to show you that there are already colleges out here that are integrating agriculture within their forensic science programs or biological sciences programs. So they have the University of Nebraska, and they have the College of Agriculture and Natural Resources. And yes, they already have an agriculture course that is on their curriculum called Forensic Entomology. Texas A&M, they have a Forensic Science and Investigative Sciences program. It's through the College of Agriculture and Life Sciences. And yes, they do have a Forensic Agriculture course, which is a Forensic Entomology as well. Oklahoma State University, they have an entomology program. It's in the College of Ag. And yes, they have introduction to forensic entomology as well as global agriculture, biosecurity, and forensics. Louisiana State University of Alexandria, they have a biology program. And yes, they have general entomology as their agriculture course. University of Florida, now they have a graduate certificate program in the College of Veterinary Medicine. Their course is Forensic Aspects of Agriculture Animal Welfare. My last college is Fullerton Community College, which is located in California. They have a biology program, and they have Introduction to Biotechnology as their form of an agriculture course. Now, some potential courses that I came up with, there's more, but I just wanted to give you a few that I thought about. Possibly bioforensics, environmental forensics, forensic botany, forensic palynology, which is dealing with the study of pollen and spores, forensic plant pathology, as I stated before, that's dealing with the plants and diseases, and forensic soil science. Employment positions may be saying, okay, well, if we bring this here, what kind of jobs can our students get if they were to decide to choose these courses as an elective? They can seek employment for the following positions: forensic soil scientist, forensic entomologist, forensic botanist, agriculture crime investigator, wildlife forensic specialist, and forensic plant pathologist. Now, if the students were to engage in this, upon graduation, they will have the specialized training in forensic methodologies as it relates to agriculture sciences, and they can actually obtain jobs within the government sector for the USDA, law enforcement, private agriculture farms, environmental consultancies, and different academic institutions if they choose to. Now, I decided to come up with a youth educational program on how I can educate the community about how forensic science and agriculture have an interrelationship. So with the specialized training in forensic methodologies, I'm on the same one. The youth educational program I decided to come up with is called, I designed this called Agri-Forensics Friday, Agri-Forensics Saturdays. So the purpose of the educational program is to engage the students with hands-on activities and lectures to further enhance their academic success as well as their scientific knowledge and techniques. For my proposed educational program, I would like to perform this on a monthly basis, possibly in the fall and spring semesters, and I want to target middle school and high school students. And the reason for that is because during the ages of when you are a middle school and high school student, you're trying to figure out who you are and who you want to become. So I feel like if we can target those, that audience, we may have success. So where would my program be hosted? I have some various locations that I came up with, but again, just subject to change. I was thinking about possibly CEP, the farm, local community centers, pending the space and the dates are available. Now, the program will consist of an introduction, a tour, and a brief lecture of agri-forensics, as well as hands-on activities, whether they're indoors or outdoors. I want student volunteers that are currently in the College of Agriculture, they're in different academic programs to assist, because I want them to be able to speak to the students as well, to tell them about their experiences at PV, because it's important for them to see students that look like them, but also can relate to them. Now, upon the completion of the program, I want them to be excited because I want them to receive a certificate and label them as a junior forensic scientist in agriculture. Now, for my long-term goals, I want to create an Agri-Forensics Institute within this college. It will be a summer-based program that consists of a mini research program. And my goal is to basically enhance the students' scientific skills and techniques in the field of agriculture with a focus in forensic applications. And at the end of the summer program, I want these students to be able to present their research and also speak about how their experience was in this program. Now, if this were to get off the ground, this will be an opportunity for Prairie View as well as this college to become trailblazers, because this will be the first in the state as well as in the southern region. Nobody has a forensic agriculture institute right now. And my target audience will be grade 9th through 12th, because I want them to start as early as 9th so I can build up their confidence, teach them how to make presentations, to speak well in front of people, build their confidence, because when they go on to college or prepare them for the workforce, they will be ready. So the goal again is to educate the youth about the interrelationship that they have between forensic science and agriculture. Now, this institute will serve as a feeder into not only Prairie View, but into this college. We want to make sure that we maintain sustainability for future generations to come. So I want to bring some type of innovative ideas to this college on how we can prepare our next generation of young leaders. My future partnership with NASA, depending on their focus and their goals for the next couple of years, I want to introduce something that may be new and innovative to them called astroforensics. And astroforensics will be focusing on space-related investigations by conducting research to understand how forensic science applies to microgravity weightless environments. Now, this will focus on the cultivation and protecting of crops in space. Why? Because microgravity and forensic agriculture is very hot right now. We know there's a lot of wildfires. There are a lot of environmental factors that are affecting not only humans, but our, livestock, just everyone, just overall ecosystem. So we definitely want to be creative and bring something new to the table that can put Prairie View on the map. Now, the benefits of CAFNAR is something that Dr. Williams stated in our plan of work retreat. She stated that she wanted each of us to figure out a way to collaborate academics and extension. And this will be my pitch on how I can build a collaboration and strengthen that collaboration between both sectors. Now, the proposed youth programming, summer research projects, and partnerships can serve as a marketing and recruitment strategy for this college. Now, the students that are enrolled in the academic program, they can actually enhance their scientific knowledge and skills and become more marketable and prepare them for careers in the workforce. My students will always tell me, Dr. Faber, I'm ready to graduate. I just want to get out of here. I'm ready to get a job. But I always tell them, be patient. Are you truly ready? Did you utilize all your resources? Because once you graduate, there's hundreds of other students applying for the same job as you. But what's going to make you stand out? But, also I tell them what's going to make you stand out. But we not only want our students when they graduate to meet the minimum qualifications, but to meet the preferred qualifications, because honestly, that's what jobs are looking for, is the preferred. The minimum, get your resume looked at. But the preferred qualifications, what I'm finding is get you an interview and get your foot in the door. So we definitely want to make sure that our students are prepared for the workforce. And these are my references. Questions? I know that was a lot.
Thank you, Dr. Favorite, for a great presentation and knowledge. I became more knowledgeable about forensic
Great.
agriculture than I did before I attended your lecture. So we have a question or a comment in the back here from Ms. Adams.
I really enjoyed your presentation.
Thank you.
The group you were talking from 9th to 12th grade, we just had middle school day here last month.
Yes, ma'am.
And we had from 7th to 8th graders, and there were over 10 kids was interested in this. So kind of widen out a little bit more.
Will do.
But some of the schools that were here, this would be great for them because that's what they're interested in right now.
Awesome.
Incredible.
Thank you.
That's all I can tell you. I've been at a couple of presentations at USDA that were not this in-depth and informative or interesting. The purpose in terms of where your program is now, is this something we're looking at bringing to Prairie View?
Yes.
And that's what you're proposing?
Yes, sir.
I like the part about using it as a recruitment tool.
Yes.
That just makes sense. And what I'd like to do in working with the dean and yourself is, I know the two superintendents of Hempstead and Waller,
Yes.
even to use this as an opportunity to, again, the community with Prairie View, and again, a recruitment tool, because where'd they get it from?
Yeah.
Prairie View A&M University. So again, kudos and again, congratulations, just absolutely phenomenal.
Thank you.
By the way, that's for you who don't know the speaker, Mayor David Allen of Prairie View and Prairie View City of Prairie View. So it looks like I'm close to lunch. Yes, Dean.
I ditto Mayor Allen's. This was fantabulous. It's my word.
Thank you, Dr. Williams.
Could you give us some examples of the food safety issues that you discovered under your forensic area? Just some examples of.
Food safety issues is just in general what you normally see on television. Like I said, they stated that, eggs can become contaminated, or, the water is contaminated, or just any type of other plants that you definitely eat on a day-to-day basis, they are contaminated. But how can we educate the community? We know that there are changes in the White House going on, but we still have to do our part as educators to help mitigate these issues. And how we can do this is educate the community and build these next generation of young leaders to teach them how to go out and help fight the issues that are going on within our ecosystem. So again, it's just the regular, it's really nothing different than what you're already typically been hearing about. You're welcome. Yes.
Yeah, I agree. This is the best presentation that I've heard, other than the athletics presentation, since the author is right here, but this really blew my mind. I'm ready to commit $1,000 from the college to get this off the ground. I have to consult with my fiscal team to see how many zeros I can put after the one. But this is terrific, Paris. I mean, this is exactly what we need to jumpstart our academic initiative and build these pipelines to area schools. And STEM education really is huge. And I think getting students involved at young ages, the youth and 4-H, which is an area that you're in. So it's a great bridge builder between area grade schools and Prairie View A&M University, but also building a bridge between extension and academics.
Yes,
So kudos all around.
Thank you.
Oh, I should add that Dr. Ferris's book, he gave me an autographed copy. No, I'm just kidding. It's not autographed. But anyway, it's already outdated. Why? Because it doesn't have a topic on forensics. We're talking about pollutants. There's no topic that I could see on forensics.
I just want to pass it around so that people can see it. So we have a question here or a comment from our Associate Dean for Research.
All right, actually, it's just a comment. Great. I echo all of the others. I would like to add 3 specific ones. One, this forensic goes beyond what you mentioned. For example, 2 cases. One time, judge called me in Mississippi. We need your help because somebody's bull got out and all the neighbors are complaining. Can we identify these cows, which bull they came from? I said, yeah, that's it. And then the other producer one day came to me. I bought some Angus, but I don't think they're Angus. Another producer came to me. I bought a guard dog. I don't think that's Turkish Anatolian dog. So we can use all of these techniques you mentioned, in addition to other molecules, RNA, metabolites,
That's right.
systems biology to really make a comprehensive understanding of how much Angus breed this one is.
Yes.
Somebody in Turkey complained that the meat, the sausage the person got actually has donkey meat. We tested, it was donkey meat. You couldn't really see with your eyes. So forensic expands beyond.
Yes, sir.
Second thing is that there are a lot of opportunities to apply for grants, Evans Allen, and then CBG capacity building grants that spans the research, extension, teaching, or integrated proposals. So I think they are very suitable for this type of idea. Another thing is that our farm is really uniquely situated for this. Come to think about it, forensic is less a science research. You can investigate. And if you look at every research from a forensic point of view, the possibilities are really endless there. So thank you again.
No problem.
You want to say something about the?
Okay, yeah. So folks, we are blessed with a lot of activities. Dean mentioned the book. That's one of the programs that's taking place tomorrow. So I want all of you to come join us at 9 a.m. with the book launch. The launch of this book, which is actually a very contemporary problem we are faced right now in the global village. After that, we have the research showcase through the research and innovation that will feature research projects as well as the appreciation from the Vice President of Research and Innovation Office. So if you don't have the flyer, please, we have the flyer copies here. I have sent the calendar invites. So let us celebrate science. There's 2 events followed by poster presentations right here in the lobby. So see you all tomorrow. Yes. Right here. Yes.
Same location here.
Yes.
Okay, so since it's a hybrid, let's read the one question or comments from the online. So Poppy Johnson, she's saying that the Institute would be a great pipeline for high school students recruitment. enrollment, and current student engagement. This could be an opening to partners with the College of Juvenile Justice as well, blending criminology and science aspect of forensic might be a funnel for criminal justice student to join our program as well. Love it. Good presentation. Any other
Dr.
comment?
Sanders.
It looks like our leadership are very
Engaged,
supporting for this
engaged.
program. So, glad to see that.
Dr. Favorite, we've talked
Yes, ma'am.
before about your ideas, and I just love that you've brought everything full circle,
Absolutely.
including just the research on the schools that currently have these programs with, or these courses within their program. And I think this is a great opportunity for us to bring our students something different.
Absolutely.
A lot of our students are in current concentrations where they are now maybe questioning if this is something they want to do, after graduation. And just having a different outlet would be perfect for them. Not to mention the pipeline for high school students and the youth program that we can really build and grow into a huge pipeline to grow the college. I just like that it's different, that it's something unique. I like CSI. I don't know how much forensic plays into that, but I
Everything
dig.
does.
I know it does, but at the same time, it's like, how in depth can you go with
Yes.
forensics, and how can you relate that to agriculture? How can you relate that to even nutrition? So
Absolutely.
just broadening the aspects of the entire program and providing something different for our students is what I'm excited for.
Yes.
And then not to mention, it also provides an opportunity for some of our research scientists to actually teach some of those courses and, making it a full, well-rounded program.
Absolutely. Yes.
Great presentation. I really like it. What I think is your topic can be taught in other classes. Actually, I know I will be invite you for giving a guest lecture in my classes, because this is something which can be used not only in animal sciences but also in other fields as well. So my question to you is, you talked about the maggots and the rings on the maggots, right? It gives you the idea about how can we determine that? How those rings on the maggots can help us to determine the age of the carcass
So
or
you
whatever.
can count the number of rings on the maggot?
So what does that tell?
Would you say how far? does
What does that tell actually based
that
on the
tells you an estimated time of death?
Oh, I
So if you count the number of rings, and let's say that maggot has 5 rings, and that means that livestock carcass or that human remains may have been out there for approximately 5 days.
Oh, I see. Thank you.
It's similar to what you use in tree rings when you count the number of age of a tree based on the tree rings as well. So
Yes.
I think I want to add something here while Dr. One important, I think one pitch for the idea is like, even though if you don't end up doing forensic science, the skills you learned, analytical skills,
Mhm.
will be applicable to other applications as well.
Yes.
So that's one
That's
pitch.
what I mean about making the students more marketable for jobs. Yes.
Thank you. Great presentation. I really enjoyed it. One thing I need to add is now last week, police chief contacted me since we are growing industrial hemp and, industrial hemp and marijuana, both biologically same species, and they have a lot of issues to identify the confiscated the drug type marijuana. And he was asking me whether we are capable of doing it. Yes, we can.
Mhm.
We have laboratory facilities and we can do everything. But your expertise will be added qualification for us to go for this. Thank you so
Yeah.
much.
So one more application, right?
Yes.
I do want to point out that although I
Any other
specialize
question?
in DNA and toxicology or chemistry are the 2 most used disciplines in forensic science, but they're also the top 2 scrutinized because the samples can easily become contaminated. But they're so diverse and you can use them in so many different ways, which makes them so much more marketable.
Well, thank you for the presentation.
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. And it's really the direction where science is headed. It's not only interdisciplinary, it's transdisciplinary.
Yes.
And I believe Prairie View as an institution is headed that way too. And so it would be good if we could get on top of it
Yes,
so that we could be the college that could lead that effort.
absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other question, comments? We still have a few minutes.
If you would like to expedite this, Paris, I recommend you look into equipment that are needed.
Yes,
Ms. Wright is right over here. We are seeking equipment needs to modernize and advance our laboratories because a lot of the equipment are obsolete, and that a lot of softwares of advanced types don't work with those. So strongly encourage you to write Evans Allen, right, Ms. Wright? First step is Evans Allen, and then you request equipment that you need. Although we recently have the confocal microscopy and there are single cell biology equipment are available. So tools are absolutely critical for what you would like to launch.
Okay. All right. Yes.
One of the things I know right now, unfortunately, the National Science Foundation has been cut back on 400 projects. But as you seek equipment, Doc, or other work, I would encourage you, as having sat on that grant review panel, they want collaborations. When they had universities simply asking for their needs, I can't tell you because we were under confidentiality when we deal with them, but it wasn't good. I can say that. But when they had collaborations with what they're trying to do with their surrounding communities, or me and Dr. Luna, we may not need it for our Vietnam Orchids projects because they're writing checks. But that type of situation, we're wide open to do, and we'd love to work with any of the departments, as Dr. D'Souza and Ms. Adams and I did with the community garden that Jones Elementary is still enjoying. But we need to do more locally, and we're here ready to work with you. Look forward to it.
Thank you, Matt. Appreciate it. Any other question? We have 1 minute. One question. Yes, Dr. Al Hassan.
Thank you. It was a great presentation and I learned a lot, as everybody here. Yeah, you mentioned there is a lot of forensic science. I just have small thing to point out. Also, in the natural resources, like water resources, there is also forensic part for the contaminants. And the one who create the source of the contaminants could be took accountable. And there is a lot of work could be done on
Yes.
that. So please.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. Al Hassan. I think the pandemic proved it's a good area of determining the virus load in an area to determine if we need to call for actions based on wastewater quantification of the virus content and the activities in the waste. So let's thank our presenter. Thank you. Thank you. And if you want to take a picture with her, so I'm sorry, you're welcome to come and please take a picture with our presenter today.
Council member, how's it going? And Mayor Pro Tem. Can I get the title correct?
May 3rd.
Oh, good election.
Yes, voting taking place now. You all are standing.